shot at a time.
Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are prime season for the most part, I would say, where most states are back and at it in some way, shape, or form. You know, we talked about it yesterday, Dante's experience in New Jersey, finally getting the game back. He's been an absolute nut at it every day since. You had a pretty good round today. You said, you swung the sticks again for a third day in a row. That's something to be proud about with these quarantine times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more so surprised with the conditioning aspect because I'll be honest, the last about 8 weeks I've been sitting in my room playing a crap ton of video games and sitting in a computer chair, so that doesn't help. But the swing, I mean, besides that, I mean, I've been practicing some swing, mechanics and all that, and finally was able to take it to the course. I mean, the swing feels good. I just lost the touch on around the greens, and obviously I just keep hooking the ball with my iron. So, I mean, it's not like I'm thinning much or chunking much. I'm hitting it pretty solid. It's just my towards is off, as I like to say.
We said that early and often when we approached the game back last year, I believe, when we first got out of the winter and into the new year. So I like that. Your towards is off.
Very off.
Well, a guy that we are bringing on, it might be able to help you and has certainly helped a lot of other folks within the game. Certified PGA of America professional, 2016 Kentucky PGA Youth Player Development Award recipient, has qualified in his own right. He's a pretty good player in his own right, is qualified through the local qualifiers, and has played in the PGA Professional National Championship as well back in 2012, and current PGA teaching professional out of Persimmon Ridge Golf Club. So happy to bring on Colby Wollitz to the show. Colby, how are things out there in Kentucky?
Dalton, awesome, man. Thanks for having me on. We actually have been very fortunate through all these times where golf courses have remained open. I've been able to work with students throughout the whole course of action. So it's been, I hate to say business as usual, but it's not too far off.
I tell you what, in times like this, it's nice to see that some parts of the country have actually been able to, kind of keep it, as you said, business as usual. It's nice to, be able to look at these tough times and say, all right, some people were able to keep their sanity in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a month and a half, 2 months ago, we didn't know what was going to come out of it. And I know you guys have suffered a lot more than we have, but we've been very lucky here.
No, that's awesome. And that's good to hear. And I know even, PGA professionals in our neck of the woods have found a way to do it online and, get it done, but it certainly hadn't been business as usual. But awesome to hear that you're, going about things per usual and still getting out there and teaching your kids and clients and everybody in between. So what we want to step into, I think, is, how'd you get to where you got today? Where did you first get introduced to the game of golf?
Yeah, so I grew up in Amesbury, Massachusetts, which is the northeast corner of Mass. So I am a big Masshole, Pats fan, Red Sox fan, all the way throughout. So I apologize to you and all your listeners that are not. But I grew up there, and I was probably 10, 11 years old when a buddy of mine said, "Hey, you want to come play golf with me and my parents?" And I said, why not? I played every other sport under the sun and had nothing to do. So I went out and played, and I was hooked, man. I remember, I think it was the next week, I had a junior membership at the golf course up there. It was a little 9-hole course up at Amesbury Country Club. It was $365 for the year, play as much as I want. It included a $50 food card. And it was the cheapest babysitter my parents ever bought.
Funny, so we talked about that between, I think, ourselves and especially Isaiah and I. Isaiah and I grew up on the golf course together. A gentleman that usually joins us on the podcast just couldn't this evening. And, we talked about that too. We're like, for a whole year, for what our parents spent to just send us to the golf course from sun up to sundown, boy, they figured a little cheat code in the babysitting, equation.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. And then, where did you stem from that? Did you get into it competitively pretty quick once you picked up the game?
Yeah, man, I don't get into anything easy. If I get in, I'm all in. And I did. I got in to some competitive stuff pretty early on. Played high school golf, obviously. Went to a small D3 school called Methodist University in North Carolina, where I went through their professional golf management program and played on the golf team down there.
Now you discount that when you said it like that, because I played in some tournaments when I was on the golf team up at Marywood University, also a D3 program, and Methodist University is notorious for their phenomenal players. Constantly ranked in the top 5 in Division III. So when you say small D3 and kind of ran through that real quick, I want people to know Methodist University has a stellar golf program, and for you to be a part of that, to play on that team, it meant you had to be a stick as well.
Yeah, it did. Now we've got a little bit of at least when I was there, we've got a little bit of a step up on everyone else, where it was in its heyday when I was there, and we had over 300 kids in the golf management program. So tryouts in the fall would consist of over 100 kids trying out for, 10 to 12 spots. So it was it's strong, but it's strong because the top end of that funnel is pretty darn big too.
That's pretty cool. I wasn't really aware of the back end sort of things like that. Like you said, Dante, I think you can attest to it too. Even on the lacrosse side of things at Marywood, our tryouts, even for our larger teams, didn't consist of 100 kids, let alone a 12 person golf team.
Yeah, we didn't see that. I mean, the recruiting class came in, and at the time, so I had 2 coaches. So the first 2 years, the coach, he would recruit maybe about 15 to 20 kids and maybe cut no more than 5. You were pretty much kind of guaranteed on the team. And then my later years, the coach, he brought in what he needed. So as seniors were, leaving and graduating, he would bring in to replace and what we need, and kind of just go from there. And in order to help kind of see if he can like streamline and build that program. So yeah, when I came in, or if you did come in, you were pretty much kind of almost locked in. But I know there are some schools that, you're not guaranteed. But, I mean, especially in golf, you got 100. Holy smokes. Because, I mean, like we were talking the other night, I mean, you're taking maybe 12 kids max, and maybe half of that are your actual starters. Whew, that's a lot, and that's some pressure, especially being on a kid trying to make a team.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, talk us through that turnover. I mean, were you able to play for the majority of time you were down at Methodist, or what did that turnover look like with so many kids coming out to compete each and every year?
No, I wasn't. I was I had an interesting college career in that my freshman year I didn't know any better, and I worked my butt off and made the team. And the way our coach did it was in the fall season, it was a little bit more laid back with how many with who we would bring to tournaments. Basically, our qualifiers, the top 2 finishers in qualifiers would get an automatic spot in the tournament, and then he would get 3 coaches picks. And then it got a little bit more difficult in the springtime when it came time to prep for the national championship. So basically, once you played your way on the team, and as long as you were playing pretty well, you were likely to stay on the tournament squad, even if you didn't finish top 2 in qualifying. Springtime, it was almost, I wouldn't say right out of the gate, but after about 2 tournaments, the team was pretty well set and getting ready for nationals.
Now, how many guys do you see come out of that program and maybe make the turn to play professionally, or at least see time on the web.com, the Corn Ferry now, or any of the other tours like Latin America and up in Canada? How many of those guys turn over and make a run at it professionally coming out of Methodist?
Very few. I would say, Chad Collins is probably the biggest name that came out of Methodist. Was on tour for a long while. But outside of that, really, most of us go there to become golf professionals, not professional golfers. And including myself, a lot of us have that dream, but I think we quickly realize afterwards. And as I get more into the teaching side, I've been teaching, I've been a PGA professional now for 13 years, somewhere around there. And as I've started to work with more better players and collegiate players, at the time I didn't know, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't realize how hard it was to play full time. And now, when you're working with kids that are ranked top 50, top 100 in D1, and they're struggling just to find a place to play after college. I mean, for a kid coming out of Methodist, even though you're a good D3 player at one of the top ranked schools in the country, you're still miles behind most of the guys out there.
Yeah, that's so true. And an aspect, like you said, not many people truly realize until they're maybe even thrown into, the hornet's nest per se of actually experiencing it. Because it is, man, it's an absolute grind to just find places to play. It seems like most tours have some sort of point system. So like you got to play one and you got to commit if you want to be there full time, or you have a chance at kind of staying there full time. So yeah, I can only imagine, it seems like most D1 programs are throwing guys out there left and right that are on mini tours after they graduate. And, for a D3 guy or girl to find themselves, room in the market per se after graduation, I can only imagine is kind of a 1 in a million shot at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you that where I knew it wasn't for me, I was playing down in the winter in Florida in December, and we played 2-day events down there. And I was playing pretty darn good. I went down a couple weeks early and got a bunch of practice in. And my first 3 events, again, they were 2-day events. So I go 66, 69, 68, 69, and 69, 70. So 3 events, never shoot 70 was the worst score I shot. I think my best finish was tied for 6th, and I was barely making enough money to pay rent.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's when I was like, I'm out. That's all I got.
yeah,
man.
and that was
I'm
probably
out.
on like a rice and beans diet too. You weren't eating at Roos Chris or getting those nice filet mignons.
No,
I mean,
no.
it just shows how difficult it really is, especially on a financial side, because you got to grind. Because I remember listening to another story of a professional I think he's in the Delaware area, and he said this kind of almost his similar story of the aha moment of saying, I'm tour life isn't for me, or he goes, I'm going to stick to the club professional, which is fine, and that's like, we're appreciative of that as well. He's just like, pro's not for me, is when he was at a tournament, and I guess he was just watching it, and some pro, I can't remember the name of it, but he came down, got himself in some trouble, and he was kind of like in the woods, kind of a little bit blocked out. Most guys would say, let me just get an iron out, punch it out, and get myself back into play. He goes, you know what? Let me get the wood and do one of these, and like does like this big old like swoop with the arm, and proceeds to hit this like huge slice and puts it like 10 feet from the hole. And he goes, yep, not for me. Never would have thought of that.
There seems to be, and I mean, it's just crazy when you look at guys that do make it on tour, a bravado, like you just said, Dante, almost that just that separates them from the rest. And I think it goes to a lot of these guys. Some, these days, I think everything's glorified on like the prodigies, where they're just kind of built up from AJGA to having these storied college careers. But there's such a backside of the PGA Tour that like doesn't get the limelight, of guys out there, like you said, grinding for months on end, just the budgets like that, and somehow making it work. And it's crazy, man. I mean, in your own right, when I was in college, looking at Methodist University, like just whoop our butts up and down the golf course, it was like, man, these guys are damn good. Like that is great for D3. And then to think there's a whole nother level on top of that's just that's impressive and daunting at the same time.
Yeah. There's more than one level above Methodist. There's several, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, there's no arguing that, which is even a crazier discussion. I mean, it can go on and on as far as many more levels above what we saw at even championship D3 level. But
yeah, but you're right. The guys that are out there, man, they've got 2 things. I think one, they've got the confidence in themselves, right, which is huge, to have that confidence and belief in themselves. But I'm really big in the mental side of the game and course management. And those guys they think their way around the golf course way better than what the average person understands. What I get a lot with students is, even really elite high school players and a lot of the adults I work with is they don't understand that golf is a game of misses, and that even really good players don't hit the ball in the middle of the club face or don't hit the exact shot they want most of the time. But what the best players do is they pick targets that are appropriate for them so that when they do hit their misses, they don't end up in a terrible spot. I think that's what you see the big separation between guys that have a full career on tour versus some guys that are just a flash in the pan. Because anybody can get hot for a week or two and aim at flag sticks and hit it tight. I say anybody. Any of those guys can. I can't. But, think about what Tiger's done. Tiger doesn't shoot a whole lot of really low scores, especially in majors. He shoots a lot of 67, 68, 69, 70s, but he doesn't shoot 74, 75, 76s, right? Even back when he was in his heyday, it was never really super low, but he never did anything stupid either. Like, he didn't make any bogeys or doubles. He just plotted his way around the golf course, hit it to the fat side of the green, and every now and then he'd sneak a putt in there and walks off with a 67.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about it perfectly, this past year in 2019 when he won. They talked about how he was just so methodical around Augusta. And it's like the reason he has so many opportunities to win there, especially in a major championship setting, is because of the way he thinks around the green, the way he positions himself, even in approach shots and off the tee. It's a thinker's course. You have to think your way around that course, and you can get lost very easily in your misses. That's one of the best things about Augusta is if you don't hit it in the right spots, you are screwed. A big number comes up quick there if you're not in the right spot. And I think it does. It goes back to that, like you said, man, those guys just seem to do it better than 99% of the rest of golfers out there. The guys that find consistent success at that level is just the way they approach it from a mental side of things. And I want to get into that a little more too, just kind of your teaching style and the way you've been able to approach the game here in the last 14 years as a PGA professional. Post Methodist, what was your first experience in the profession?
So I did my last two internships, which was one before my senior year and then after my senior year, at a place called Hamilton Farm Golf Club up in New Jersey. And I was honored to work with a guy named Mike Adams up there. Mike's one of the top teachers in the world. He's won PGA's Teacher of the Year award. I think it was in 2017. And he's always, probably top 5 in the list that you see Golf Magazine, Golf Digest. But I got to work with Mike for a few years, and that's where I really decided that I love the teaching side, because I saw that Mike was able to help people. He was able to help them a lot with not only their golf games, but just to enjoy the game of golf and to accomplish their goals, whatever they were. You had guys that were just trying to break 100 or just happen to be outside playing golf. And then you had guys that were trying to play for a living, and he was able to work with all of them and help them achieve their goals. And I was like, man, this is fun. I get to be outside. I get to interact with people when they're having a good time, on the golf course, get to help them with their golf games and ultimately just enjoy this wonderful game of golf a little bit more. And so that's where I really fell in love with the teaching side. And after there, I ended up in Kentucky. That was in 2008. So the economy in New Jersey wasn't the best place to be at a very high-end club. It got hit pretty hard. And so I found my way to Kentucky miraculously. And then this is year 6 now, started the Golf Academy with a good friend of mine out here in Louisville.
Yeah. So talk us through that. When you moved out to Kentucky and made the decision to kind of set up the Golf Academy, what was running through your guys' head of like, this is going to be our own shop and we're kind of going to, join forces between everyone in the industry that is in our area and start up this academy. How did that go about really coming to form?
Well, the course we're at now, Persimmon Ridge, it was purchased by a PGA professional 6 years ago, and he brought me on to teach full-time, and he brought Corey Kaufman on to teach full-time. We did not know each other. We knew of each other, but we never met, really, outside of just, saying hi at tournaments when you saw each other at tournaments. And we realized real quick that what we did went hand in hand, but I think more importantly that our personalities meshed really well together. And we said, hey, let's just see how big we can get this thing. And so, we started our Golf Academy, and our goal was, no matter what a student's age or ability level was, we wanted to have something for them. And so it started as just the two of us and a lady named Betty Baird Krieger, who does all of our Betty was a former #1 player, junior player in the country, went and played at Alabama, and she now does all of our college recruiting stuff, some of our mental game stuff. And then we've now actually added 2 other instructors, Josh Schneider, who is our director of instruction, who was a club pro guy, was a head pro and a GM at another course here in Louisville for a while. And then we've added a kid that just graduated from college a few years ago, who's helping us out too. So we've grown quite a bit in the last 6 years and just been very fortunate that we've just got the right people at the right times. And everyone just, no one on our staff has an ego, which is probably the most important thing. You know, we all know what our roles are, but we all feel so very comfortable with each other to where if I've got someone that I work with mainly and any of the other guys want to work with them or give them a piece of advice or talk to them about something, you know, I don't care. We're all in it for the same goal, and that's just to help each student become their best player and their best person.
That's awesome. And I love the approach with that is a lot of golf coaches, I think, might get too stuck up in mechanics or some specific way of doing things. And they try and teach that, way across the board. And I think what's really cool about, just kind of what I've seen from things online from you and how the Golf Academy coaches things is there's no one perfect swing for one person. It all matters to body types. It all matters to, just the way people approach the game and ability levels. When you teach amateurs, aside from, your most seasoned clients that have a really good understanding of the game, how do you first go about like assessing, that first change in a person's swing if they come to you for the first time?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing I do is I try to get them on the golf course. And I try to get them on the golf course, and I try to get them in a group setting where they don't know other people, because I want to see people play golf when they're nervous, when they don't know what's going on, because they're not coming to me to play better when they're just playing with people they know and they're comfortable, right? You want to get better at golf. You're really talking about the situations when you're uncomfortable, when you're nervous, because that's when the bad stuff comes out, right? So I want to get them on the golf course first and foremost, and if I can, with other players, and I want to just kind of see where are you with your golf game? What are you struggling with? Is it what you think it is, or is it actually something completely different? And then from there, we can actually sit down and come up with a game plan.
Boy, that is a stellar comment right there. Is it what you think it is, or is it something else? Because so many people think they have it narrowed down to what they need to work on or what they're really struggling with. And as golf professionals and people who, obviously see it day in and day out, you guys can pick out the, kind of true remedies of saying, well, you might think it's this, but, bad news for you. It's actually a complete 180 from what you truly need to work on.
Sure. And that happens a lot. And I'll tell you, the hardest part is convincing them of that. And I'll tell you, so the biggest thing I always get is, well, if I could just hit the ball 10 yards further, if I could just hit the ball 20 yards further, if I could just drive the ball in the middle of the fairway, whatever. And so what I do is I'll grab my sticks and I'll watch wherever they hit their tee shot to, I'll try and hit my drive. I'll try to hit the same shot. So if I get some guy that comes up and hits this 190-yard slice in the trees right, I'm going to grab my driver and try to hit this 190-yard drive that slices into the trees on the right. And then at the end of the round, and first that you get a couple looks like, who the heck is this guy? I'm going to pay this guy to teach me how to play golf, and he hits the same shots I hit, and you'll get that look the first few holes. And then you get the question of, you're doing that on purpose. And I'm just playing golf, man. I'm just playing golf. Let's just keep playing. And then at the end of the round, you look at your scorecards and you say, hey, man, we hit the ball in the same spot off the tee. Did I hit a shot that you were not capable of hitting? Usually the answer is no. Well, how come I shot 39 from the same tee shots you just hit and you shot 48? So that's something I do more often than I ever thought I would, but it's a way to convince people that, hey, you don't need that extra 10, 20 yards right now. What you need to do is figure out how to not take penalty strokes, how to not miss the green from 100 yards and in, how to not three-putt, how to not chip the ball 2 or 3 times on a hole.
I was gonna say, you're preaching to the choir, because before Dante and I got on this evening, he was telling me about his struggles in his round today. And he goes, dude, I didn't even hit that bad off the tee. I hit pretty good approach shots, but from, inside 50 yards, just around the green, and my putting could not have been worse. And he was losing his mind.
I've been doing swing training for like speed training for the past like month. And I think I'm seeing a little bit extra distance, but the ball's going all over the place. I mean, I'm hitting these big old hooks, and I'm sitting here like I'm 30, 40 yards off the green, and now I'm in junk, and then here we go, and I'm here we double next hole. Like, dang, this sucks.
For the average golfer, man, for the average golfer, you don't really need to hit the ball further to shoot the scores you want to shoot. But now, let me say that, but also say that if you want to play at a high level right now, you got to hit the crap out of the golf ball. You've got to have speed and distance. If you want to play D1 college golf professionally, but for the average player, man, they're chasing something that's only going to hurt them.
And that's the thing with me is like, I play with my buddies here and there, and we got groups at my course, and we play all these fun money games. But I wanted to start getting into, I'm in Southern New Jersey, kind of right outside of Philly. So Golf Association of Philadelphia, they have their own like tournament thing, and I got my handicap down to where I can actually compete in some of their, I guess you can quote unquote call them their majors. And I was able to play one about a year ago, and that's kind of like the goal for me. I know my game, I know my kind of like limitations. Like I'm not going pro in this lifetime, but I would like to be able to compete. But these guys out there, I mean, you got these like plus ones and scratch golfers and all that, and these guys hit it miles. So like I definitely want to get my game to a level to where I can like give myself a test to see if I can like get to that point to compete with them. But I kind of just started all over after this month quarantine of no golf in New Jersey. So it's kind of starting from scratch all over again. So I don't know what the heck's going on. But I only played 3 rounds, so it's just amazing. It's crazy too when you don't stay on top of it and you're not consistent with like your practice. And I mean, you can lose it pretty quickly too, because I mean, it's not something that you can just roll out of the car and expect to shoot like 76 and go home. I mean, you got to put the time and effort into the practice, and especially around the greens, because once you lose that touch, I want to leave the sticks at the course and just go home.
So let me ask you this, Dante. What do you normally what's your handicap? What do you normally shoot?
So I guess my index is sitting at a 4.5, and okay. It's like I would say like a average score like 80, and then I'll have my good rounds here and there and like shoot like in the 77s and 76s, and then obviously I'll have my like blow up rounds too. That's at like prime, like real good. I'm not gonna talk what's going on right now. It's a little different, but.
Okay. How far I'm going to trust you to be honest here. How far do you hit your driver?
I would say I'm thinking like around like the 260.
Okay. Let me ask you this then, make it a little easier. You're at the 150-yard marker. You've got water short of the green. What are you hitting to get to the middle of the green?
To the middle of the green?
Or, well, I mean, just to get over the water. So you got to make sure you hit it over the water. You're 150, you got water short.
8.
Okay, so 8 iron for you is probably about what, like 160 club?
Just about.
Okay. Well, I've got really good news for you, Dante. My 8 iron goes about 158 to 160.
Okay.
And I would be somewhere near that plus 1-2 handicap range.
Yeah.
So you do not need to pick up distance to get there, because I've figured out a way to do it.
Okay.
I love that. Nice. That is beautiful.
Yeah, man. Awesome. So I'm doing.
Now it's just going left.
Well, we'll work
big
on
old
next.
hooks.
Yeah. Well, what do you think causes that? There you go. Let's dive into that. What do you think causes that?
I mean, I can have a closed face, or I'm coming like way inside the out and just putting some serious spin on the ball and watching that thing just move.
All right. So it's got to be both, right? The face has to be closed and the path has to be right. So what's the opposite of that? Or what's the shot that you can hit right now? Besides
right now,
hook?
like it's usually like a little bit of a draw.
Okay. what's easier for you to hit, a block or a slice?
Probably a block.
Right, because your path is way out to the right. You're righty, right?
Yes.
Okay, so your path is way out to the right already. So all you gotta do is not let the face release. So why don't you just practice aiming left and hitting a block? Then the golf ball stays under control.
I
Dante
like
shooting
that.
74 tomorrow. I'm calling it.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
I'll let
Like
you know.
we overcomplicate it, man. Like you're a good player.
Yeah.
You're someone that shoots in the 70s and low 80s. You're a good player. You obviously
Thank
have
you.
some kind of control over the club face and the club path. What you've probably done is you've gone onto YouTube and you've looked up all types of things on how to fix my hook or something with my golf swing. And when you go play golf, you try 25 different swing things, and one might work for one or two shots, but then it doesn't work. So obviously you got to try something different because that's not working. When in reality, what I do with most players is I go down to the simplicity of, and this is wrong when in regards to physics, right? So don't quote me on anything like this, but let's just make this real simple. What's the face and what's the path? And you just nailed both of those on your hook. Which one's easier to control? Well, for you, the path's all the way, it's always out to the right because you're either hitting hooks or draws. So you just have to learn how to control the face.
Yeah. I think that's literally probably my biggest issue right now because, I mean, it's off on like a pretty good line, and then next thing I know, that thing is just sailing way left, and I'm like, where is that going?
Yeah.
What is going on?
I will tell you the biggest thing that I learned in college. It was from our assistant coach that came in for like 2 years, my sophomore and junior year, was telling me how to hit a cut, not a slice, but how to hit a cut. Because at the time I played mostly a draw, Dante, like you're saying, and it turned into a hard hook or just hard pull draw more often than not before I learned to hit a cut. And finally, once I learned to like hit that controlled cut or like block, as you said, like Colby said, as I aim down the left-hand side and can kind of just swing all out and just hit this little cutter out there, and like the worst case scenario, it ends up in the right side of the fairway, maybe right rough, and it takes the whole left side out of the game, like pretty much off the tee, which is game changing. And it's cool. It was cool to hear you say that, Colby, because it just like it dinged a light bulb in my head. I was like, man, I do that. Like I hit that cut.
Yeah, for sure. And every golfer thinks that they're the only ones that have these demons or these issues, right? And so, like right now, I've been playing a decent amount with my adult groups because we're basically on the golf course all the time with all this COVID stuff. And with my driver, I draw everything. With my driver, I try and swing up on it and hold on to that face for dear life and hit this massive cut. And that thing starts down the middle of the fairway, and if it cuts about 3 yards. So there's a huge difference between feel and real, right? And what the best golfers do is they figure out what works for them, but they also understand what creates different ball flights. Because if you don't understand why a ball is hooking, you can't fix it. If you don't understand the face is closed and the path is out to the right for a righty, then you can't fix a hook. Because most golfers do the opposite, right? Especially slicers. So what do slicers do? They try and swing the club more and more to the left, and all that does is make that sucker curve more to the right.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something to be said of, just like you said, understanding how it happens in order to fix it. And that, I think that's step one usually for most amateur golfers, because they don't understand it, and that's always a crucial part of getting the players to get the ball flight that they're desiring. But just building off of that too, you saw, like we just mentioned a little earlier, some really good success in your own right, as being a PGA professional. Talk us through qualifying for the 2012 PGA and kind of, what that process looks like as a qualifier. I don't think a lot of listeners maybe truly understand how a PGA professional qualifies for, the PGA tournament with the pros.
Yeah, so to get to the PGA Championship, you've got to finish top 20 in the PGA Professional National Championship, which is a 360-man field, and each section has a section championship. So, like, I'm in the Kentucky section, and based on the number of participants in your tournament, in your section championship, gives you so many qualifying spots. So here in Kentucky, we have a smaller section. We'll get usually about 3 every now and then, like this year, our section championships at Valhalla, so we'll get a bigger field, and we'll get 4, maybe 5 people that qualify. But usually it's 3 guys that'll qualify from our section championship, which will then go play in the Club Pro National Championship against all the guys from other sections. So I won, or I didn't win. I finished 3rd or maybe 4th place, I guess, in that in 2012, and went out to Monterey to play Bayonet and Black Horse, just north of 17-mile drive in Monterey, which was awesome. Hard golf courses. I mean, just brutal. And I played great in my practice round, like an idiot. When I say that, I mean, like, I did not play my practice rounds like I normally do. And I knew I was playing with a guy that used to play on tour, and I wanted to show off and show him how good I was. And I made a good number of birdies. And then I went out in the first 2 rounds and shot 2 scores with an 8 in front of them. And when you do that in this type of event, they usually give you the last 2 days off. So I got to drive up to San Fran for the last 2 days.
Fair enough. Well, fair enough. That's hey, it's still cool to see, you got yourself in a position to at least have a snap at it. And it's funny. And I think it all boils down to, I think what we said our last podcast, with just the mental side of things. When you approach things out of your own ordinary, that you don't find a comfort in, golf, guys that find success in this game find a comfort zone no matter where they're at. And it's funny you mentioned you just kind of were out of your comfort zone and tried things you've never done before. And obviously, 99 out of 100 times that's going to result in scores that you don't like to see.
Right. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on this. So I've been doing, since this COVID stuff, I've started doing a lot of virtual stuff. And so I've actually created a boot camp, a 5-week mental mastery boot camp. And I just came up with a definition for mental toughness that I'm sure somebody has a much better one. And if you guys know of it, please let me know. I want to make this better. But what I've come up with is mental toughness is, it's not what most people think. It's not that you're not going to get nervous. It's not that you're not going to be afraid to hit certain shots. It's knowing it's preparing ahead of time, and knowing what feelings, what thoughts, and what emotions are likely going to come up throughout the course of a round or throughout the course of a tournament, and then also having the tools to combat them when they do come up. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's phenomenal. I think you hit it spot on. And Dante, I think, maybe you can comment on it too. But it speaks to, the way I've always approached it and kind of understood it, obviously not mastered it in any means. But it's just like being prepared for what is going to be thrown at you. And I think, when you went into, knowing the emotions that you're going to feel and stuff like that, I think it's just correct. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, you need to go into some sort of environment knowing, the emotions you're going to experience before you experience them to have real success.
Yeah, I agree as well. Because, I mean, think about it. I mean, you're not going to go in there when everybody's saying, I think people misinterpret mental toughness as, you're going to go in there and you're just going to be this robot and you're just going to get things done and then leave and then move on. And I like your analogy on that, because I mean, even Tiger's admitted that he's been nervous before. Nerves definitely go through. It's just, how are you going to be able to deal with them, and how do you know you're going in? You're going to go in and shoot. If you're going in leading with the come down on a tournament, your nerves are going to kick in. But like, it's just like, before that round, you better think like, all right, well, this is what's probably going to happen. Like, all right, so when that kind of happens, and correct me if I'm wrong, you figure out a way beforehand on how to deal with that coming down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you what the next level of that is learning how to prepare yourself for it. Right. So I gave a lesson to a guy the other morning who has the chipping yips, good player, probably a low single-digit handicap, but took him to a chipping green and it was great. What do you mean you have the chipping yips? Well, when I get under pressure, So you've got to learn how to prepare yourself, because you have to simulate the pressure when you practice. I always tell people you need to practice, or you need to train hard so that when you play, it's easy. So give yourself a super difficult task that you almost don't think you can achieve. So for him, I put a little circle on the green. I said, all right, you got to hit 3 in a row in this circle. And he hit the first one. He's feeling pretty good. Second one, he's getting a little bit nervous. Third one, you can tell this guy is, he's nervous because if he doesn't get it, he's got to start all over again. So you've got to put a consequence on yourself when you practice to help you simulate those nerves. That's why when you talk about, or you watch guys that say, I'm going to make 100 3-footers in a row. Well, are you actually going to do it, or are you just going to say you're going to do it? Because if you're actually going to do it, then when you get to putts number 50 and 60 and 70 and 80 and 90 and 95 and 97, 98, 99, you're getting real nervous because you're going to hold yourself to it. And
Hell,
you've got to go
100.
back and start
I'm
again.
telling you right now, I've done 25 and you hit 23, 24, 25. And if you know you got to restart, yeah, your hands tense up a little bit. There's no doubt about that.
What most people do is they take it easy on themselves. They're like, that was good enough. That was close. I got to 24 in a row. Well, then you're not really getting anything done. You know what I mean? You can't simulate the pressure if there's no consequence behind it. And then you get on the golf course, you got this 3-footer to win this $50 Nassau with your buddies. Guess what? You haven't practiced under the same conditions.
That was going to be my next question is how do you take, your, whether it's clients or kids or whatever, if they're kids just starting or, seasoned players, like, you said you put a ring around the hole for the guy with the chipping yips, but like, is that the best way to kind of just force yourself into it is not only, doing little drills like that, but at the end of the day, just being accountable with yourself and like holding yourself true?
For sure, man. That accountability is huge. And, it depends so much on a person's personality, what you can do with them. Some people, right away, they're just, they want you to give them everything you got, and they're almost going to look through you, right? And they're going to get it done. Whatever you tell them to do, they're going to get it done. Doesn't matter. These are the guys you want in the military, right? Doesn't matter what it takes. They're going to find a way to get it done. And then there's other people, especially younger people out there. And sorry if you're one of these people, but man, there's a lot of snowflakes out there. And it's tough. It's tough being a coach because at one point you need to challenge them. You need to help them become better. But at the other point, you don't want to lose them because they're going to get worse if they don't come back. So there's a fine line there. So it depends entirely on the person. But if you can hold yourself accountable, you are way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. There's something to be said about I don't know how else to say it other than just accountability being the kind of end all be all factor in setting up, whether it's golf, whether it's life, whether it's a lot of other things, just to be accountable seems to go a long way in getting things done, plain and simple. So, do you have a best story of maybe one of your clients that you just, felt like you've pushed to the limit as far as that goes? Like, any good drills that really just kind of hammered a person till their limits?
Oh man, we do it's a full putting thing, right? And we've got tees out. We do a path drill. We do left hand only, right hand only, both hands. We do a start line drill. We do a speed control drill. Then there's a short putt drill, and then you get into pressure drills. And we had this one kid who recently graduated from Illinois, really good player. And myself and Corey were out there working with him. I think it was on spring break, and we were every day on spring break. We put him through this putting series, and one of them is a speed drill where it's on like a mid-range putt. So, it's anywhere from I think 12 feet to maybe 18 feet. And we've got uphill and downhill version, and you've got 4 quadrants. You got to hit the ball in long, second to longest, second or third to longest, and then the shortest one from 4 different tees. So it's a total of 16 putts, right, that you've got to get in your spot. And for our best players, we say, hey, if you make a mistake, you got to start all over again, right? For players that are not quite as talented, again, this kid was high level D1. For lesser talented players, we give them, 1 or 2 mulligans, right? Just to make it somewhat doable because it's brutal. It's a hard test. And we were out there one day doing this, and it was maybe 40 degrees and raining, and it was nasty. And Corey and I went through it with him. We went through every single drill with him, and we got through with all of them. And this poor kid is stuck on this speed drill, and it is freezing. And we stand out there with him. being supportive for another half hour, 45 minutes. And finally we said, Spencer, we're going inside to eat. You can either join us or you can stay out here and get better. And we went inside, got food, sat in the window and watched him sit out there for another hour, hour and a half. And that kid got it done. He finished the drill. He came in soaking wet, cold as anything you could ever imagine. And I thought he gave up because, we were pretty far away. You couldn't really see. I said, did you get it done? And this is an honest kid. Like, he wasn't going to lie to us. He was just outside for 3 hours, freezing rain. He goes, dude, I finally got it done. I said, you are the man. That is
That's awesome. I love it.
That's amazing.
That's the stories you got to love as a teacher, man. I'm telling you, like, this stuff like that, to see people kind of thrive in spots where 99% of your other students wouldn't have sat out there and grinded on it that hard.
Absolutely. And most people don't understand what they're actually capable of. They don't push themselves far enough to know what they're actually capable of. He did. It was awesome.
That's cool, man. No, that's the stuff. I mean, it's just you dream about it as a teacher, I'm sure, when you get into it, and you say, I'm going to teach people one day, and that's the profound kind of wisdom you hope to instill in somebody. So it's awesome to see that was part of your experiences already, and I'm sure down the line of thousands of people taught over the next couple of years that you'll surely have some more profound lessons learned along the way. So, Colby, man, I really appreciate you joining us this evening, and it's been a true pleasure to listen to you and talk with you as well on just kind of your journey throughout the game. And how can people find you to maybe hook up with you and get a lesson with you or anyone else at the Golf Academy?
Yeah, so you can email me. It's Colby, Colby, at thegolfacademypr.com. And our website is thegolfacademypr.com. And then social media is all the same thing, the Golf Academy PR. So, anything we can help you with, love to help any of your listeners out. And like I said, we're doing a decent amount of virtual learning. So I've actually got guys from Philly. I've got guys from Atlanta. I've got a lady from Dayton, Ohio that's doing my virtual boot camp. So anyone that wants to work on their mental game, or I've got another one on course management and practice drills. So I'd love to help any of your listeners out.
Well, as we said before, and as you said earlier in the podcast, those might be more critical than any other swing thoughts or anything like that out there. So I'm sure people will want to hop on that. And heck, even it might be Dante or I hopping on that to get a little better on the mental side of the game.
Anytime. I'd love to have you guys.
No, I know Dante took some notes today, and I think he's going to set up for a record round here on Saturday or Sunday.
15%.
All right. I'll give you the good old I'll message you with the I'm back.
All right. I love it.
Sweet, man. Well, Colby, thanks again, man. Truly a pleasure. And I'm sure we'll mucking it up here in the next couple of weeks as we look to get better in our own games. And hopefully I'll get golf back here in Maryland sometime soon and can get back on the course and start working on my own game. I'm jealous of you guys out there playing every day.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys. You guys are great. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, truly appreciate it, man. Take care. All right, guys, as you heard, that was Colby Wollitz from Persimmon Ridge Golf Club, PGA professional out of there. Dante, stellar interview for you and your game. I think he single-handedly gave you some ideas to fix just about everything off the tee, at least. Yeah,
I'm gonna give it a go tomorrow. See what happens. So
I like it. Now you said your first day was out, playing pretty all right. Second day, okay. Third day, a little better. Some struggles around the greens. What's your main focus? Day 4.
Honestly, I'm gonna try the irons into the green and not overcooking them. I'm gonna try the block thing because if I get myself on the green and 2-putt my way out of there, we're good. In worst case scenario, 3-putt, we're looking at bogey. What I need the prep, like what sucks about this right now. But again, you got to take with what you can get with what's going on. We're playing golf in New Jersey is a park and play. They're telling you to show up 10 minutes before your tee time. Mm-hmm. You get out of they check in, you get out of the car and you go right to the first tee and you just play. The one course I played, the way it's set up, the way you have to get to the first tee is kind of a hike. So in order to speed things up, they're sending everybody on the second hole, which is a par 3. So right out the gate, you got an iron in your hand, no warm up, you're cold, but you're excited to play. So it's kind of tough to get a feel.
I will argue with anyone. The worst hole to start on, especially if you're playing like a shotgun start in like a charity tournament or something like that, worst hole to start on is a par 3 to start your round, especially in a park and play scenario where you can't hit balls beforehand.
I know, and I agree, because think about it. Par 3, you walk out, you're hitting one full shot, maybe a chip shot if you come up short of the green, and then hopefully a putt, or you're putting for bird or two putting or whatever. You're on the green and you're putting. So you're taking one swing for starting that round. At least if you start on a par 5 or par 4, you can maybe, okay, that hole is a wash, but at least you can get a feel for what you're going to see the rest of the day. Or
well, also the thing for me too is like a par 3. If you make one bad swing on a par 3, you might make 5 or 6. Like if you start on a par 5 and you say one bad swing, all right, chip out, hit my third shot down there, fourth shot on the green, still a shot at par. Like
yeah, exactly.
If you make one bad swing on a par 3 and it's blatantly horrible, like right out of the car after a morning after you drank with your buddies all last night on the quarantine, it could be pretty devastating. So I totally see where par 3 just is not the most ideal. So where are your pops and you teeing it up tomorrow?
We're going to the home course. We're going back to Running Deer. So I'm excited to the Saturday. It wasn't the best of rounds, but it was the first round. Just kind of took it in. Now it's like, all right, let's see what's going on. Greens are still coming off of aeration, so they're probably still going to be a little slow and a little bumpy. But hey, tomorrow's going to be kind of like I guess you can say, practice round in a way. Gonna give some things a try. That course sets up. I did put a new 5-wood into the bag. Haven't even swung it yet. I mean, I built this thing probably 6 weeks ago and just haven't really had a spot to swing it. But I didn't put myself in a spot for me to use it yet. So maybe throw an extra ball down and just give that a rip, see how it feels.
Yeah, man, you built it for a reason. You gotta use it.
Yup.
Tools, not jewels, remember?
Yeah, right. It just looks good in the bag because the head cover is pretty sick. Gonna try and see if I can control the face of my irons into the greens, and chipping. Well, I need the practice for that. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and try and go on around and just hit chip shots all day because I know people are trying to play and whatnot. I mean, I need a practice green for that, and like a basket of balls, and unfortunately, can't do that right now. So that'll come. So if I can eliminate that aspect out of the game and maybe control, eliminate the big misses with the irons and try and just get it on the green, I can try and put my way out of there and keep moving.
Heck so yeah. Excited to hear how you enjoy it. Rumor has it now I don't like to be a man that starts false leads of rumors here, but rumor around town in the golf industry in Maryland is we're gonna get it back next weekend.
Word.
But until then, I want to plug some fun little designs that you and I collaborated on. The new speakeasy on the links, t-shirts and masks and mugs are out now. We had some fun with this one. You and I went back and forth before golf was opened in New Jersey, kind of just talking about some places that had been rumored to still running operations. We won't say who or what or where or when, but that were still running operations as a kind of show up and just play golf no matter what. And it reminded us of the speakeasies of the 20s, the Prohibition era style kind of attempt to still get in.
20s.
And hey, buddy, we're in the 20s. Freaking speakeasy, man. It's that mentality. It's that Prohibition era style logo too. I think I think you were mentioning, it's kind of just classy. It's borderline classy when you just look at that like kind of Art Deco style logo. It's fun, man.
I love it because it reminds me of that 20 and the 40, 20 to 40 year, 1920 to 1940. And it's just I can see it where it's like that old school camera zooming in on it and it's like black and white. You know what I'm talking about? It's got that old music. Because I do, and we've discussed this before off camera, how if there was a one time to like live in a different era, I would say I would like to live in the 40s. I just thought that was just such a sick era. I just thought like that classic look that some of those people like rocked when they were in the streets and especially on the golf course. Those guys had a swagger to them, and they were just like cool. And that's when I look at the speakeasy, that's what I think of.
You have constantly, time and time again, recounted that to us, man, the 20s would have been so cool, just how they lived, how they dressed. And I think the logo kind of embodies that. So I'm really excited to see people's perception of how it's received. And, we've had a ton of people comment and appreciate it on the Instagram post, but guys, go check that out. Seriously. Let us know what you think. www.enjoythewalkpod.com. Things are front and center right there on our shop button. You guys can reach it from the homepage. And also, we just released the newest blog written by yours truly, Dante. We're kind of just recounting his, experience on the golf course within the first couple of days of New Jersey golf, and some of the things that were awesome about being back, some of the things that obviously are still weird, with the park and play and stuff like that. So
very weird.
We shared that last night, and hopefully you guys can go read that and give us a like it or a thumbs up and share that as well, because that's the only way our blogs get read, guys, is that's from your shares, from our shares and from your shares is how people see our blog and see our content too.
Damn, one thing I do want to say, I probably said it on another podcast, but it just popped in my head about the blog, which there was just so much stuff to kind of talk about. I didn't know what direction to go into. But one thing that I thought was very interesting is that we live in a digital world and, like a mobile world. What one thing is cool is, unfortunately, one thing that stinks is New Jersey's making it only twosomes only unless you're immediate family. So within a span of 16 minutes. So it's every 8 players an hour. So the demand is high, but the supply is low. But one thing that I thought was cool, because we have huge groups that we want to play with all the time, every weekend. Everybody's just kind of like booking their times and what they can do. But we have a back end, like through like the phones and maybe like Google Docs and whatnot. And everybody's like taking pictures of their scorecards, and we're still getting in the games. We're still getting in the money games. So we're still be able to play. It's just kind of more on a virtual aspect, which I thought was really cool to do, because you're still interacting with, your friends. You may not be physically seeing them, but you're still able to compete.
Let me tell you, this is bringing out what is so great about the game of golf. It's about honor. It's about kind of the unwritten code of playing by the rules and trusting that other guys are doing the same. And I think, not only in your instance, but I've heard many other guys, whether it's New Jersey or Pennsylvania, some of my buddies down in Virginia, that were saying like, yeah, man, we all pay, kind of like the bookkeeper at the beginning of the round on Venmo, as it's like our, $20 scats or whatever. And we play, and then we post pictures. We all send pictures in to whoever's keeping the books per se. It's a big group text. We all send pictures of our twosome scorecards in, and we calculate everything. So, I mean, how cool is that, man? I mean, like you said, digital era, we're all but like there's an honor code in that, there's a trust in that. And I think that's what's so freaking cool about our sport, is that there's that much honor. We don't need tape. We don't need video cameras. We don't need the play-by-play to trust that you, your buddy, your buddy's friend, and your buddy's friend's friend is all playing by the same code, the rules and everything, and having a good time, and still in some way, shape, or form, with limited play, like you said, twosomes and stuff, getting out and having those skins matches or junk or scats or whatever anybody calls it. It's so cool.
We're literally trying. I'm like texting people. We're probably going to go play a different course this weekend, and I'm texting different people saying, yeah, you want to like see, because you want to like see if we can just get a bunch of people to try and get tee times relatively close, or just go there and just play like a giant skins game. And the one guy's texting me, he goes, yeah, I'll reach out. And he's texting me back. He goes, Dave and John are in, Brian and Brendan are in, Dan's in, I'm like, let's go. Like, we're getting commits, and it's just kind of cool to see because you're not seeing the interaction. You're just like, and that's where kind of the imagination's coming in, but it's really neat, and it's a lot of fun to see because you can still, and again, it's out of all the times to be shut down in the world, it's do it when the technology is like at an all-time high. So you can still kind of, everybody's getting creative, and you're being able to still find that normalcy, and you're still be able to find workarounds to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. We've said this time and time again on this podcast, just pertaining to the game alone, let alone the side matches and the fun stuff that I think, is a reason a large majority of people play. I can tell you this just from my experience in the past year, when, we get the Saturday and Sunday morning typical group together where whether it's 20 guys or 40 guys, I'd say a good majority of those guys are coming out to play simply for the fact of putting a bet on the table and like having fun with their buddies. It's not to win a ton of money, but it's just to have that like feeling of, all right, this putt means something, and to just have that camaraderie. So it's like, yes, it's via text message. Yes, it's via, the non-traditional forms that we were used to, but it's still happening in some way, shape, or form. And you're still able to get that sense of camaraderie, even though you're not shoulder to shoulder clinking beers.
And one thing I'll say too, which is kind of fun too, and you can argue against me if you want, but people are better shit talkers when they're behind a keyboard.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. There is truth in keyboard warriors, which makes, in all honesty, these times so much fun because people are thriving for a little bit of, back and forth between somebody right now because they don't get it in real life. That it just makes those shit talking matches. It's like, come on, Dante,
Yep.
75. You kidding me? There's no way you shot that, you cheating son of a gun. And it's like, it's fun to go back and forth because you hit it nail on the head. People are going to type shit out that they wouldn't say to your face.
Yep.
But in this times, hell with it. Let it ride. Send it.
And it's always all in good fun. But it seems like people are wittier when they have that time to think. But when they're on the spot, they have to come back at you when you say something. Yeah, they take a sip from their beer instead.
Love it. Well, hey man, I'm excited that you're in it and you're jiving with the guys in your club, even if you're not playing with all of them, and excited to see how your next couple of days go as well. Just playing with your pops and just getting back out there, man. Because that's one thing, you don't think about till it's gone. And as cliche as it might sound, when you get back out there with your pops today, it's gonna be like, man, like this is cool. Like how many times do you get to say like, yeah, I was playing golf with my dad today, and you just take it for granted? It's like tomorrow's, whether it happens to be or not, it should be something that's pretty special. And
Dude,
you kind of realize it's like, when's the last time you did it?
Hawaii.
Incredible. Absolutely. Our first podcast.
November.
Our first podcast was the last time you played with your dad?
Yep.
That's incredible, man. I'm pumped for you. I'm so pumped for you.
Because he's retired, and so he goes, I can play any day I want. Why do I want to go out and play like in the winter? Or he became like a true retired fair weather golfer. Which is fine because
no
you
hate.
have the time to
no
do
hate.
that.
Yeah.
So when it's cold and snowy and rainy out, he takes a part-time with H&R Block and does like taxes and whatnot. So by the time that kills his time there, and then once the summer comes, golf's back up, and then he heads out. And hey, no brainer, which I understand. But yeah, last time we played was
that's incredible.
In the good old the Aloha State playing
that's
in
incredible,
Jurassic Park.
Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your dad. Check back in with us. Take over the IG account if you have to. Show us the play-by-play of logging in and checking into your home course, and just have fun, man. Excited to see you and your pops enjoy the walk tomorrow, and I just pumped to see you have golf back, and I'm sure we won't be too far behind. So we'll check back in with you guys at the end of this week, and hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Colby Wollitz. And that's it from us, guys. So always get out there, carry your clubs, and enjoy the walk.
That's the stuff. One shot at a time.